We're live.
Hello, 50 Plus and Fabulous group. Welcome to another Money Monday on this end of March here, wrapping up on.
Yeah.
Flying by.
Spring is in the air.
Spring has sprung this weekend. It was beautiful, but we're so excited to have Tina Hurst here today.
Yeah.
Tina, where are you tuning in from?
Hi, I am from Sycamore, Illinois.
How far away is that from Chicago?
It's a good hour. It's out by DeKalb, so NIU area. That's where my agency is. I live in the northern suburbs, so yeah.
I went to NIU.
Did you? You know what, Barb? I didn't know that.
That's where I got my doctorate.
Get out! Fantastic.
Yep.
We love everyone coming on. Tell us how their week is going and tell us where they're coming from today. Barb's coming in from Chicago. I'm coming in from Cincinnati. We've been really having fun doing these Money Mondays and sharing all our professionals and all their wonderful education and expertise with everyone. Tina will be talking about life insurance today, but I won't dig any more into that and steal her thunder.
Yeah, and this is really important. Purse Strings was created so that women could have a one-stop shop to go and get free online tools and resources to help them make the best financial decisions for themselves and their families. So often in a lot of the research I've done and the work that I've done, it's been shown that women didn't have access to these types of resources. And so that's why we created Purse Strings, just for women to have access to these resources. And we have access, they also have access to Purse Strings approved professionals like Tina, who we have here, who's presenting for you today. And Tina will present information around life insurance. She's what we call a P&C agent, or property and casualty, oftentimes home and auto. I don't know, they use those terms a lot. And so we're excited about that.
And our Purse Strings approved professionals have all been vetted by us. They're really women, not all, they're men and women who have really set themselves apart, being experts in their field, who are really take care of you and really have your best interest in mind. Money is not at their forefront. I mean, they make money, but that's not their forefront. They're really worried about taking care of their customer and making sure that they have the best plan in whatever area that is, whether that's P&C or houses or, all different fields. So, we're so excited to have her on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. We're glad you're here, Tina.
Awesome.
We'll wait one more minute just for a couple other people to pop on, but these are always on the YouTube as well, so people can always share them with their friends and tune in later, which is exciting.
Yeah, and in Facebook Guides, under the Guides section as well.
So always get your hands on the education. We got Kim here today, which is great. Kim's the owner or the group admin. So we're always thankful to have Kim Kane to give us the opportunity to jump on here and share some financial education. Yeah,
to her group, she's built a great group of 50 plus and fabulous women who are just amazing and very engaged. And what we love about this group is they are engaged. And I really feel they're our target market for really jumping in and saying, hey, you know what? I really haven't attended to this too much. And so I need to start taking control of my own finances. Because, we were never really taught that and people didn't talk about money. So now we're going to talk about money.
Best day to get started is today.
Yeah, start now. We have so many resources, so many Purse Strings approved professionals you can reach out to, no matter what your topic is. If you don't find one, give us a buzz. We can help you out.
So let me give a little intro to Tina and then we can get started. So Tina Hurst is president of Hurst Insurance Agency. This highly rated, women-owned, and independently operated agency specializes in auto, home, and life insurance while focusing on personalized customer service. Tina is passionate, caring, and knowledgeable insurance professional. The foundation of Tina's agency is to put the customers at the center of everything they do. Through compassion and integrity, they will be there for you and your family to protect the things you love, which couldn't ask for more with a P&C agent.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So with that, Tina, I'm going to give you the floor.
Awesome. And Maggie and Barb, thank you so much for the invitation. I have so much respect for Barb. Her and I have worked together for many years, crossing paths at Allstate, and we worked on many, many, many high-profile projects. And Barb is just amazing. And helping women it's my passion. It's what I do. And so just a little bit more about my background. If you could go one forward for me, Maggie, on the slides. You could say I'm an insurance geek. I'm absolutely an insurance geek. So I've been doing this for over 35 years. And I was with Allstate for 32 years. And then when I became 50 and fabulous, they let me go. And when that happened, it was very traumatic for me, but I landed on my feet and I now own the State Farm agency. And I have to tell you, it was the best thing that happened in my life. I absolutely love what I do now. I've got a fantastic team. I've got awesome customers, and I get to help people, and that's what it's all about. I'm married for 28 years. My husband's name is Tim, and I have two adult daughters, Jennifer, 26, and Rebecca, 25. So a little bit, we want to talk today about life insurance, and nobody wants to talk about life insurance. But it is so important. And I am just so passionate about helping people to become financially protected. And a big piece of that is about life insurance. So I just want to share a couple of stories with you. And first is my dad's story. And this is a picture of my dad on the slide. 4 years ago, I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer. He was only 78 years old. And I will tell you, he was one of the healthiest people that I know. Before his diagnosis, he never spent one day in a hospital. He wasn't even born in a hospital. He never had any surgeries. We thought for sure that Dad would live forever. He was also a coach of a high school softball team. And it was a day in October when he was throwing batting practice for the girls. A few days later, he thought he pulled a muscle in his side. It became more and more painful, which led him to the ER, followed by a CAT scan, and then the cancer diagnosis just a few weeks later. My dad fought pancreatic cancer for 18 months. And anyone who knows anything about pancreatic cancer, 18 months is a miracle. And that was a miracle to us that he was with us for that long. But life is so fragile. Serious health issues and tragedies can happen to anyone at any time. It doesn't matter how old you are or how healthy you are. They can happen at any time. And then there's the women that are left behind. And you guys, I see emotionally how difficult it is for the women that are left behind in this situation. I see the pain in my mom's eyes and the steps that she has gone through after losing my dad. The love of her life gone after almost 60 years of marriage, 60 years of marriage, and then he's gone. And it is just simply gut-wrenching. But guess what? Financially, my mom is good because her and my father had planned every little bit of their financial future. Everything was planned out down to the penny. Financially, she is good. Emotionally, that was a different story, and it still is today. Guess what? My dad didn't have life insurance. Guess what? He didn't need it because they had everything planned out. Okay? Over the last year, I have had 3 customers, all women, who've lost their husband. One was in her 50s, one was in her 60s, and one was in her 70s. Each of their husbands had life insurance, and I handed them a check. Financially, they're going to be okay. Emotionally, I know they've got a long journey and it's just really heartbreaking. Then I want to share one other story, and this happened, it was December of 2019, and I remember it because it was cold and snowy and it was right before Christmas time. And I had one of my customers, James, who called in. I took a payment, and I learned through our conversation that he was divorced and had a 15-year-old son named Blake. And I asked James if anyone ever talked to him about life insurance before. And of course, he said no, they hadn't. So we talked about providing financial protection for his son if something were to happen to him. And being the smart person that he is, he said, sure, let's do it. And it was like right before Christmas, because most people don't want to buy life insurance before Christmas, you know. But we did 100,000 20-year term policy, $15 a month. Fast forward about 6 months later, and I got a call from James's sister. James had passed away from a sudden asthmatic attack. She was going through his apartment cleaning up, and she came across a State Farm folder with my name in it and a life insurance policy listing Blake as his primary beneficiary. And she wanted to know if that policy was still active. It was. And I will never forget sitting across the table from Blake, that 15-year-old boy, and looking him in the eye and saying, your dad loved you very much, so much so that he wanted to protect you financially for the rest of your life. And Blake, when you are 18 years old, I am going to have a checking account here for you for $100,000 for you that your dad wanted you to buy down payment on our home or to go to college with. And you know what? That day, it broke my heart. It was just, but it fueled my passion. So it's just a couple stories that I wanted to share with you guys on why I'm so passionate about life insurance. So thanks for letting me share those stories. And Maggie, yeah, awesome. Next slide. Great job. So no, back to the other slide. So I always tell people life insurance isn't about you. It's about your family, and it's about protecting the things you love. It's one of the things that has nothing to do with you. So it's all about you. So there are basically, onto the next slide, there are two types of life insurance. And I really like to simplify this because it should not be complicated. There are term policies and there's permanent policies. Term policies and permanent. One's like renting a home, one's like buying a home. So I want to start off with the right. Let's talk about term policies. Term policies are temporary coverage. And what that does is it locks in the rate of the policy based on your current age and your current health. So you can buy, let's use Maggie, for example. Maggie's 25 years old. She gets either a 10-year, 20, or 30-year term. So she buys it at today's age and health. So it's either locked in till she's 35, 45, or 55. If Maggie's 35 years old, then it would be locked in until 45, 55, or 65. They're really low cost. That's the term I was talking to you about with James. It was $15 a month. Super, super inexpensive. And it's a great way to provide high limits of insurance for your family at a low cost. Now, some term policies at the end of the term, it ends. I had a policy through a company. At the end of the 20-year term policy, boom, it was gone. At State Farm and some other companies, it has a convertibility feature. This is really, really cool. And it's one of the reasons I love term policies. If your policy has a conversion privilege, you can take a piece of that policy and you can convert it into something permanent. And as long as you convert it within the term of the policy, or while that term policy is still active, the insurance company can't ask you any medical questions. So let's say, for example, Maggie buys a $250,000 policy today, and she guarantees it until she's 65 years old. Anytime between now and the next 30 years, she could take in $50,000 out of that pie and make it permanent that will last the rest of her life, and we can't ask her any medical questions. It's like, I always tell people, it's kind of like your ticket in. Here's your ticket into a policy. And it's really important to be able to have life insurance that you can keep forever, and to not be asked medical questions is a big deal, because I will tell any young person listening that your health is very different in your 20s and 30s than it is in your 50s and 60s. Since we're 50 and fabulous, We feel 50 and fabulous, but sometimes things go wrong, whether it's high blood pressure or diabetes, or sometimes you can develop things like cancer that you could live forever with, but you may never be eligible again for life insurance. So life insurance is something that you don't just buy, you have to qualify for. So that's a really important point. The other thing about term life insurance and all life insurance is that it is tax-free upon death. So if I bought a $250,000 policy and something happened to me, my family is going to get a check for $250,000. It's not going to be for 80% of that because the government's going to take taxes out. So it seems very unfair, but life insurance is one of those things that is completely tax-free upon your death. It's not like winning the lottery. If I got $1 million lottery, they're not going to give me $1 million because they're going to take a big chunk out of that. Okay. So that's term policies. I love term. I think they're wonderful. Okay. But it's not the only kind of life insurance. The other kind is a permanent plan. And it's kind of like buying a house. And permanent insurance is coverage that is intended for your lifetime. And it locks in the rate for your life based on your current age and your current health. So if you're 50 years old and you buy a permanent plan, it's going to be rated based on your age and your current health at 50. If you buy it at 25, it's going to be locked in for the time that you're 25. Permanent plans also either pay dividends or pay interest based on the product. And you're going to hear things like whole life, that's a kind of permanent plan. Universal life, that's a kind of permanent plan. And both of those also have a living benefit. And what I mean by a living benefit is that allows you to take money from it or take money out of it, take a loan from it. Let's say I've got 25,000 sitting in my life policy and my furnace goes out and I don't have the 5,000 to pay for my furnace. I could take it out of there. So it's got this living benefit. And then again, it's tax-free upon death. I'll give you an example of a whole life of a permanent plan. When I was in my 20s, I was also at that time, I was selling life insurance and I bought a plan for myself. It was a universal permanent plan. And permanent plans, by the way, will cost you 2 to 3 times as much as a term policy. So if a term policy is 25, think about a universal or whole life, you're probably going to pay at least 75 or 100 a month for it. So when I was in my 20s, I bought a 100,000 universal life policy and it was $75 a month. To this day, I still have that plan. I am going to keep that plan for the rest of my life. That's the policy I'm going to keep for my lifetime. In addition, I bought some large term policies. And the reason I did is because I had kids. So my husband and I had like $500,000 20-year term policy. Well, guess what? It is expired now because my kids are old enough and they're not relying on my income anymore. So that's kind of the difference between term and permanent. So if we could go on to the next slide. I call this the bell curve of life. On the horizontal axis is your age from age 0 to age 100. And on the vertical is the amount of life insurance needs. And I believe, in my opinion, most people, not everybody, but most people need some kind of life policy, whether it's for burial or final expenses. But most people need something, because someone is always going to be responsible for some type of final expenses. But the need goes up. When you've got children, you've got a mortgage, you've got people that rely on your income, and you're 30, 40, 50 years old, your life insurance need increases. I like to fill that bridge, that big piece, that big high limit there with term, because it's so cheap. And inexpensive. So that's kind of like the bell curve of life. And as you get older, if everything is the way it is planned with your finances and everything, you probably don't need as much life insurance because hopefully your home's paid off. You've got all these investments, but not everything in life is perfect like that, but in a perfect world, this is what it would look like. So the next slide, how much life insurance do you really need? And there's all these very complicated tools out there to determine how much you need. And I really like to simplify things. Why complicate it? Now, some big estate planning thing may be a little bit different, and maybe you need to complicate it. But the buckets that I like to protect are, first is your debt. Make a list of all your debt, your car loan, your mortgage, any credit cards that you have, any kind of debt that you have. And then look at income replacement. So let's say that if I pass away, I want to make sure that my husband has my income for the next 10 years, because I know he's going to need it because he's not making as much as me. So that was just hypothetical, but probably true. So, so anyway, I want to replace my income. So let's say I take 10 years of my income. That would be another bucket. And then the next thing is education. So if I have kids that are maybe 10 years old and I want to make sure there's money in a life insurance plan for them to go to college, that would be something else you wouldn't want to put in there. And then final expense, cost of a funeral averages 8,000 to 10,000. You would want to put that in there too. So that would be your need. But then you want to subtract what you have. Maybe you already have some at work. You could take that off of the top. So if your need's 500,000, well, I got 100,000 at work. Okay. And then I've got 100,000. I'm just making this stuff. I got 100,000 Roth IRA. Okay. Let's take that out. Now my need is only 300,000. So that would be my need. My need may be different from my husband's need. So how much do you need? That's important to figure out, but don't overcomplicate it. Something is better than nothing. Some life insurance is always better than nothing. And the last slide is just, it's life insurance is a gift. It's a gift of providing financial protection to your family. It's the best way to look at it. Again, it's not about you, it's about your family and providing them that safety net that they need. Life is hard enough. When somebody dies, that emotional burden is just unbearable. But you throw financial burden on top of that, and it's just gut wrenching. So don't do that to your family, and make sure you give them the gift of life insurance. So I think I've talked enough. So Barb and Maggie, you guys still there?
Yeah, we are here. That was great information and some really great examples to, really break it down and understand.
Good.
We love anybody to ask any questions, but we do have a couple lined up for you.
Okay.
So let me see what the first one is here. If someone has life insurance through work, do you need it outside of work? Is that enough? Or can you explain that to me?
Well, I love life insurance through work. It's a group plan, and it's usually very, very inexpensive. So I always tell people, get as much as you can through work. And it's very, very, very inexpensive, but it's also not yours. Okay. So it's like if you work for a company and they give you a company car or they give you a cell phone, when you're done at that job, guess what? You got to give the cell phone back. You got to give the company car back. You've got to give the life insurance company. You've got to give the life insurance back. So what happens to people when they're 50 and fabulous or whatever, that happened to me. I lost my job. I also lost my life insurance. Okay. But I got some when I was in my 20s. So I'm good. So I was good. I had enough. So just don't rely on your employer for that. There's very few employers that give you life insurance upon retirement. So sorry about that.
That's really interesting. I had no idea that it kind of went back to the company like that. So that's really good to know, especially if you leave, you want to get on top of that right away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When it comes to being receptive to life insurance, have you experienced a difference between men and women?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, yes. So,
Classic.
I know it's shocking. Men don't like to talk about life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
They think, some of them think, not all. I shouldn't say all. Some of them think that if they buy life insurance, that they will die. You know,
We will
or
die one day.
what did you say?
We will die one day.
No, but they don't know. We don't want to tell them that.
Got it.
You know, exactly. So, we make light of it. But yeah, it's kind of like if you buy car insurance, does it mean you're going to get a car accident? Or if you buy a home insurance, does it mean your house is going to burn down? No, you do this because you want to protect the things that you love, and your family is probably most important. So a lot of men have reluctancy to talk about it and to move on it. Women are usually the ones that take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and say, we're going to do this. I want to make sure I'm protected, and I want to make sure you're protected. So there is a big difference between the two, unfortunately.
We're inspiring all women to do today. And so we've all read a Dave Ramsey book at some point in our life, and he says, do not buy permanent life insurance. Should we follow Dave?
Oh, I think Dave is a very smart guy, and he's a lot smarter than me. But the theory behind that is to buy term and invest the rest. So that is a wonderful theory, and I love it. But what happens is people buy term and they spend the rest. So if you are going to take the money, let's say you're 25, you're 30 years old, you're gonna invest in a 100,000 universal life policy. Instead of doing that, you're going to do a $25 a month term policy and invest $75 a month in some kind of investment, whether IRA, whatever. You do that, go for it. It is the right thing to do. People don't always do that, but if you do that, I agree. I love term insurance. One of my favorite products, one of them that I sell a lot of. But I also like permanent because I think a lot of people, when they're 60, 70, 80 years old, wish they had life insurance and didn't take care of it when they needed to when they were young. I know that because I get a lot of people knocking on my door. Tina, I need a life insurance policy. And then we start talking about health. And a lot of times I find that people that are shopping for life insurance just simply don't qualify. And that's really sad, because they waited too long. Yeah.
And so, let's say we followed that plan and really did all this investing. Do I need life insurance if I have all these assets?
Well, remember here's what I tell people. Not everybody, there are some people that have planned their financial future so good that they do not need life insurance. And let me paint the perfect picture of the perfect person. Okay. I'm going to pretend I'm perfect. No, I can't do that. It's too hard. But I'm going to say this person has no debt. Okay. They don't have a car loan. They don't have credit cards, and their house is paid off. They have investments. All right. So they have investments. They have money set aside. It's investments. They have no kids at home that are relying on them for income or college. They have no kids at home. And they have guaranteed income for the future for their surviving spouse. So I'll give you an example of I said my dad earlier, he didn't have life insurance. He worked in a manufacturing operation, and he was a mechanic, and he had a wonderful pension. And there's not I wish we all had pensions, but not everybody has pensions anymore. But he had this awesome pension, and he had the ability to select how this pension, it was a lifetime of income. And when my dad died, my mom got his pension.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a smaller amount, and it's all how you select it. When you take your pension out, do you take the full 100%? Or do you take 80 or 90%? And then it's kind of like something happens to me, my wife is then going to get it. So if you have a lifetime of guaranteed income, you have investments, you have no debt, you have no children, you have investments. Did I say that already? That's because I'm 50 and fabulous, and I forget what I say sometimes. But there are people that don't need life insurance, and those people have just done a tremendous job of planning. Yeah.
And that's really great information. And yeah, it's always a big analysis of the whole picture and, you know, all your different moving pieces and how they can all work together.
Yeah.
Now I know you said personally you took out life insurance when you were younger. And so was that you paid $75 every month since that day you purchased it?
Yes. Yes.
So you would have to pay it always. It's not like you pay it for 30 years and then you have it forever.
Well, that one that I took out was paid for. I pay for it for the rest of my life. I'll pay $75 to keep that in force. It all depends what you can set it up differently when you purchase it. They have limited pay policies where I say, oh, Tina, you know, instead of paying $75 for the rest of my life, if I wanted to put more in back then when I bought it, I could have bought a limited pay where I said, you know, like if I were you, Maggie, and you said, I only want to pay for the next 30 years, I would tell you how much it is to pay for the next 30 years. But it's going to cost more to pay for 30 years than pay for the rest of your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So you just pay more pretty much up front than dragging out those payments.
Exactly. So it's all set up when you purchase it. So the person that you talk to would kind of go over your options. I decided when I was that age, I'll just pay for it forever. And, forever kind of gets a little closer the older you get.
You still have a long time.
I know. Yeah.
And so I know a lot of these 50 plus and fabulous women have children who are in their 20s or 30s. Do you recommend to them that they should talk to their children now about getting life insurance and doing that now?
Absolutely. When I actually, and you can also give, you know, the last slide I showed was a gift. You can also get a gift. You can buy people life insurance as a gift. I have whole life policies that I bought for my children and that I'm paying on. And when they're hopefully live to 120 years old, they're going to have these policies because I bought them for them. But yeah, I absolutely, I think parents should talk to their kids about it. And kids should also know what their parents have. You know, I remember my dad, it was probably about 30 days before he passed, and he sat down with me and went through me and my mom, everything that he had, you know? So your kids need to know what you have too.
So with these whole life policies that you bought for each children, if you pass, do they have to continue paying those to receive them?
Yes.
Oh, so they have to pick that up. So you pay it until you can, and then they pick up that tab from there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But there's limited pays with those too. The plans that I got for them were 20 pay policies. So they were 25,000. They're just a little. They're not a big premium. They're not a big premium, and they're not a big death benefit. Because what I want to do is ensure their insurability. I want to make sure that they have life insurance for the rest of their life, regardless of what their health is. So these what I bought for them were 25,000 whole life policies, and they're 20 pay. So I only pay for them for 20 years, and then they're fully paid up. Then they're just 100% sitting there building dividends going into these policies, the death benefit going up for them, and something they'll have forever. So
wow, that is a nice gift to get.
It is a nice gift. I have
it's not
grandparents do that for their grandkids too, because you know you can only buy so many toys, right? And if you have a big event, baptism or christening or something like that, it's a wonderful thing.
I can't say it's the best gift as a kid to really receive, but you'll think of later.
No, kids don't want to know about it, but when they're 80 or 90 years old and grandma bought them this policy, they will be like forever indebted for their grandparents. So
like, I knew Grandma Tina was the best.
That's right.
And so is there any recommendation of routes people can take if they don't qualify for life insurance?
Well, we have a final expense plan, which is a $10,000 policy, and it asks very few medical questions, and it's pretty easy to qualify for. They have to be very careful because there's I see a lot of a lot of things on TV. Everybody qualifies, but you've got to read the fine print. A lot of times we see things like that are just accidental death and dismemberment policies that just pay if you're in an accident, or you pay on them, and if you were to pass away within the first 2 years, there's no payout on it. So you just have to be really careful. It's, you know, I see so much on TV and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? You know, so just be careful. Go to somebody you trust.
Yeah.
A person, not a 1-800 number.
Definitely. Those are all the questions I have right now, but let me bring in Dr. Barb. She always has a question or two.
Barb.
That was amazing. You really clarified kind of what some people think is confusing around life insurance. You made it very simple.
Oh,
So thank you, Tina.
Thank you. That's my goal.
Yeah, you did I could tell that you are very deeply knowledgeable about this topic, which is so important. I did have one question when you were talking about that. And it was about, I don't know, my 50 and fabulous brain is going to sleep, I think, right now. So
That's okay, because my cell phone's at 20% battery. So.
Oh, okay. But nonetheless, like we always do, we'll pull all this great content together and put it in our step-by-step document. But I know what I was going to say. That that $10,000 like death policy,
final expense.
it's best for those instead of the fundraising, the online fundraising that we see so often.
A GoFundMe.
The GoFundMe.
You know, so many GoFundMe. I just feel terrible when people are having to fundraise for funerals.
I know.
It's just heartbreaking to me because, you know, like the example I gave of James, the $15 a month, I throw $15 a month away like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, do what you need to do to invest in your family, and don't leave it to a GoFundMe. The thing about life insurance and about funeral costs, and anyone who has sat across from a funeral director and planned a funeral, it's not pay me when you have, just pay me when you can, Barb.
No.
It's not like that. It's like, this is how much you owe. How would you like to pay for that today?
Yeah.
So you've got to have, you know, we talk about people having everything together. You've got to have liquidity too.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to have that money to pay the funeral. And we had so many deaths this past year, you guys. Yeah. And when you have a big when you have a big agency and a lot of customers, you have a lot of death. And when you do sell a lot of life insurance, but we had a young girl, 25 years old, that was in here crying. She was just so thankful that her mom bought a $10,000 life policy because she didn't have to take out a loan to pay for her funeral. Just horrible, you know? Yeah. Yeah. GoFundMe it's not how we do things.
Yeah.
No one wants to take out a loan for that or pay that back. And everyone knows that like a parent wouldn't want to leave that on their kid. Like, deal with me passing and here's all some debt.
Right.
You know, because you want to give them as much respect as you can when they pass.
Yeah. And not everyone's got $8,000 sitting around.
Right. Yeah. Funerals are expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, awesome information, Tina. Thank you so much. Maggie, take it away.
And
thank you again, Tina.
Fabulous, just like me, Barb.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Tina, for coming on today. You can reach Tina at tina@insurewithhurst.com. She's also one of our Purse Strings approved providers. You can find her on the Purse Strings website, pursestrings.co. And we will be back here next Monday at 1:30 Central with Deb Perel, who will be talking about taking care of family members with special needs, especially as everyone's living longer, really how to care for them and have your expenses paid as well as your loved one's expenses paid, not just in death, but in life as well. And so thank you so much, Tina, and I hope everyone else has a great rest of their week.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.